Hello and welcome back to the IceCaps Weekly Wrap. We're back with a brand new season here in the 2016-17 AHL season, and we're as excited as you are to get things rolling with the St. John's IceCaps in their final season out on the Rock in Newfoundland before the team is moved to Laval, Quebec, just outside of Montreal. So we kick it off with our first week of the IceCaps action. They had a 3-3 on the road to begin their season this year. They started on Friday night with a game in Hartford. They were playing in Connecticut and had 3 goals on the evening. It was a kind of a back and forth game. Charles Udon scored, as did Chris Terry, who scored on the power play, and newly anointed captain Max Freeberg also tallied a goal. However, those 3 goals weren't enough. Hartford ended up winning this game 5-3. And Stefan Matteau was not in the lineup as he is currently serving a 2-game suspension that he incurred way back in March of 2016, the last time that he was on an AHL roster. Moving then to Saturday night, the IceCaps traveled to New York to visit the Albany Devils, where they dropped another game. This one was a 5-2 loss, and this one was pretty chippy. There was a lot of fights going on. Jeremy Gregoire, Michael McCarron, and Bobby Farnham all ended up with 5-minute fighting penalties, as well as some other mixing it up, as you would say. David Brohl had some issues. Charles Udon had a boarding minor, of all things, not something that Charlie usually does. And we had 2 goals, each by Chris Terry. One of them was on the power play again, so that's 3 goals in total for Chris Terry so far on the season in just 2 games, and 2 of them are power play tallies. The power play is one thing that so far in this weekend has really seemed to be clicking for the IceCaps, albeit at times they're not getting quite enough shots on goal on the power play or necessarily in regular 5-on-5 play as well. So going down 2 games, the first 2 games of the season, they moved to Sunday, where they went to Providence, Rhode Island, to play the Providence Bruins. Now, this is the first time that the IceCaps, under the moniker of the Montreal Canadiens, has played in Providence. They did not play there last year, as due to the scheduling with the divisional lineups. So the last time that the IceCaps were in Providence to play the Bruins was the previous St. John's IceCaps team, which was affiliate with the Winnipeg Jets. So these teams haven't seen each other in quite some time, and it was not a friendly game, to say the least. Looks like a little bit of that Habs-Bruins rivalry continues down at the AHL level as well. This was a very physical game. The refs seemingly did not have a good grasp of control on the game from the get-go. Former IceCap Shane Baker is actually on the Providence roster these days, and he got called for boarding Bobby Farnham early in the first period, just absolutely slammed him face first right into the glass. Not even a minute after that, Chris Terry was slammed into the boards in the corner. That call, that hit went unpenalized, and things like that just continued to happen through the game. Frustrations were really starting to boil, and at one point at the beginning of I want to say around the 3rd period, the Bruins were leading the IceCaps in shots 33-15. The IceCaps just couldn't find any shots on goal. They were having trouble getting out of their own end. They were pinned in their own zone. Frustrations were really boiling over, and at the end of the game, Sven Andrighetto actually had a laser shot right into the Bruins netminder, which unfortunately didn't get in. But the final horn went off right after that, and Charles Udon was down near the crease at the time trying to deflect the puck in, and after the final horn, I'd say probably 3 or 4 yellow jerseys just absolutely swarmed him. So any of the IceCaps players who were on the ice rushed to his defense, including Michael McCarron, who just tied up one of the Providence Bruins players, Justin Hickman. Hickman then turned and started punching McCarron in the head multiple times. McCarron looked like he was trying not to fight back. He just was looking to protect his teammate. The refs didn't step in to break things up, and unfortunately things escalated from there. McCarron ended up with a 10-minute game misconduct for fighting after the final whistle, which unfortunately then carried into a match penalty for headbutting, and we will wait to see if the league hands down any suspension to McCarron for the match penalty. Transactions this week, there were a few, even though we've just started the season. Brian Pitton actually played in goal on Saturday night. He was signed to a PTO from the Brampton Beast. Pitton needed to come in to play as a backup to Zach Focali because Charlie Lindgren actually was called up to the Montreal Canadiens on emergency status to cover for Carey Price while he is sidelined with an extended bout of the flu. So Al Montoya, the backup in Montreal, is actually handling starting goaltending duties, and Charlie Lindgren is acting as backup there. So in the meantime, in the interim, Brian Pitton was signed to a PTO from the Brampton Beast. He played in the Saturday night game as well. I mentioned Sven Andrighetto had a shot right there towards the end of the game against the Bruins. He was put on waivers on Friday. He cleared waivers and joined the team on Saturday to play on Sunday. And last but not least, Jan Denis has been signed to a 1-year AHL contract with the IceCaps goaltending. So we'll see what's happening there. Once Charlie Lindgren comes back from Montreal, that's going to be a little bit of a logjam in between the pipes with Jan Denis, Zach Focali, and Charlie Lindgren. So it'll be interesting to see going forward what's going to happen there. So coming out of that 0-3 weekend, the IceCaps will remain in Providence this week while they have some practice time, some downtime, and some team bonding time before they have another 3-3 this coming weekend. They play Providence yet again on Friday night. I'm sure that's going to be quite an entertaining and an intense affair on Friday night. So that game starts at 7:05 Eastern, 8:35 p.m. Newfoundland time. Saturday they head to Springfield. Again, that game is 7:05 Eastern, 8:35 p.m. Newfoundland time. And then finally on Sunday they return to Hartford for their last game of this first road trip, where they will play an early evening game, which begins at 5 p.m. Eastern time, 6:30 p.m. Newfoundland time. Thanks so much for tuning in to this first edition of the IceCaps Weekly Wrap for the 2016-17 season. I'm Amy Johnson. Don't forget to follow along on Twitter. We have actually updated our website, so make sure that you're following the correct accounts. We are now under the moniker of the AHL Report instead of IceCaps Hockey Report. So you can find us on Twitter at the AHL Report. You can find us on Instagram at AHL Report. And our website is now simply ahl.report. Again, that's at the AHL Report on Twitter and ahl.report online. Thanks so much for watching. Join me again next week for another great edition of the IceCaps Weekly Wrap.